tell you goodbye, 'cause I'll find a better one. Yeah, susceptible now before the moment flies. Ooh, so tell you goodbye, 'cause I'll find a better one. Ooh, susceptible now before the moment flies. It's not a problem, no, 'cause I know what I'm getting into. Yes. Yeah, and nothing can stop me. No, 'cause I'm addicted to what you and I realize. Lead the way, I follow. No need to say where we are heading now, babe. I follow to the edge of it all. So tell you goodbye, 'cause I'll find a better one. Yeah, susceptible now before the moment flies, before it flies. So tell you goodbye, 'cause I'll find a better one. Susceptible now before the moment flies.
What is going on? What is going on, Locked In Nation? Welcome back to the Locked In Podcast, your home for personal development tips, sports news, music, and more. Tonight's episode, guys, is going to be a little bit different. It's going to be more on the entertainment side, more on the historical side, as we kind of jump into our first ever Mafia Talks episode of the podcast. We're going to be talking about the Lucchese Crime family, who are based out of New York. They're actually still present to this day. They were founded in the 1920s. Anybody who's seen Martin Scorsese's Goodfellas in the 1990s, very, very popular film. So I'm assuming pretty much probably all of you have seen that movie. You'll know that a lot of the people inside of that movie, the characters, Henry Hill, Jimmy Conway, Jimmy Burke, Tommy DeSimone, Paulie Cicero, Paul Vario is the actual real name of them. They were all associated to the Lucchese crime family. So this is going to be, as the Mafia Talks, we thought this was kind of probably the perfect family to kind of start off with as we talk about this. As always, I'm your host for the evening, Steve Ushler, and, joined alongside me, being in a minute, as usual. George is a little late right now, but the show will go on. We'll wait for George to kind of come in. But with that being said, guys, I'm going to play the intro. But before I do, if you're watching on YouTube, smash the like button. If you're not already subscribed, hit the notification button. Well, subscribe to the channel and turn the notification bell on. Smash that notification bell, because we release content every single week. You don't want to miss it. If you watch on Facebook, simply smash the like button. Number two, if you see something you like or you guys want to drop your insight, because this is a very interesting topic, comment down below whether you're watching on Facebook or YouTube. And number three, guys, just sit back, relax, and enjoy the podcast. It's 2022, guys. Focus on you, and others will too. Let's hop into the intro, and we will get started.
Don't look down, just keep your head or you'll be finished.
right, guys, as I said, I've seen a lot of people kind of roll in since the intro. Welcome back to the Locked In Podcast, episode 87, where we're kind of taking a different route tonight on the historical side, on the entertainment side. We're going to be talking about Mafia Talks. First time we've ever done the Mafia or covered the Mafia on this podcast. We're focusing on the Lucchese Crime family tonight, which dominated in New York along other families like the Gambino family. They're still present to this day. They were founded in the 1920s. So George is going to be here momentarily. I'm going to kick us off tonight, guys. Drop your feedback below if you guys have any knowledge on this family. Just want to, drop anything. We thought the Lucchese family would be perfect to start because Martin Scorsese's movie Goodfellas is based off this very popular movie. So we're like, why not start with them? So I'm just going to run through a brief history. Honestly, we can probably cover this family in two parts realistically. Because the time has changed, but I'm just going to give you guys kind of a brief background history of the family. I'm also going to talk how people like in the movie Goodfellas, Tommy DeSimone, Jimmy Burke, Paul Vario, Henry Hill, all kind of tied in. They were all associates of the Lucchese crime family. But I'm gonna give you guys a brief history first. Hopefully George can come in. Great topic as far back. Classic line of the movie Goodfellas. As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster. Yes, classic line. Guys, if you ever watch Goodfellas, drop some classic lines down below. And like I said, guys, smash the like button. All right, let's get into it. Let's give a brief history or notes I have on it. So bear with me because I do have some notes, but I do know a lot off the top of my head as well. So the Lucchese crime family, right? They were an Italian-American mafia family. One of the five families that dominated organized crime inside of New York City in the United States. And ultimately, members referred to the Lucchese crime family, the organization, as the Lucchese Borgata. All that essentially means is that, it's mafia slang for criminal gang. It was actually derived from a Sicilian term meaning close-knit family or close-knit community, I believe. But it's like I said, they were one of the top five families in New York City in terms of organized crime. Like I said, the family originated in the early 1920s. By Gaetano Arena. He actually was serving as the boss up until his murder in 1930. And then a man of the name of Tommy Gagliano came along, and he served up until he died in 1951. So for essentially 21 years. And fun fact, the Lucchese crime family was actually known as the Gagliano crime family when Tommy Gagliano actually was the crime boss of that family. They kind of were just low key essentially at that time. They kind of focused their efforts on crime inside of the Bronx, Manhattan, New Jersey, those type of areas. But they were very low key for the most part when Gagliano was there. But then came along Tommy Lucchese. He actually has served as Gagliano's underboss for 20 years. And Lucchese was one of the most powerful families to kind of sit on the commission. And a fun fact about Tommy Lucchese is he actually teamed up with Carlo Gambino of the Gambino crime family in New York City. When he took over, they wanted to control organized crime and team up inside of New York City. They were obviously two of the biggest families. And Lucchese had a stronghold, I believe it was the garment industry inside of New York. And they took control of many crime rackets for the family. So eventually Lucchese wound up dying in the early 70s of a brain tumor. And then eventually a man of the name of Anthony Corallo, he actually gained control of the family. And Corallo was very secretive. And he, kind of like Lucchese, he became one of the most powerful members to ever sit on the commission. And for most of its history, actually, this is kind of interesting because in Goodfellas, a lot of the members who are associates, in real life, movies aren't always as true as like what you kind of see in real life. But anyway, the Lucchese crime family for most of its history was actually reckoned as one of the most peaceful crime families, believe it or not. Everything kind of changed with that when a man by the name of Victor Amuso actually took over as Anthony Corralo's successor, and he eventually promoted one of his long-term partners, Amuso did, by the name of Anthony Casso, to underboss. Starting the Windows case in 1986, they instituted one of the bloodiest reigns, one of the most bloodiest reigns in mafia history. They basically ordered virtually anyone who crossed them to be murdered. So anybody who didn't agree with their values, didn't see eye to eye with them, they wanted them dead. Like they, this is where it got dark. This is where things got, like I said, they were relatively a very, very peaceful organization until Amuso kind of took over, and then brought and promoted Casso. So once that kind of happened, things got kind of bloody. Eventually, it's estimated that Casso actually murdered between about 30 and 40 people. Fun thing, I actually I watched an interview they had on 60 Minutes with Casso, and yeah, he's honestly, guys, if you have a chance, go watch it. It's on YouTube. He's honestly kind of he's a kind of terrifying dude. Like he said like somebody attempted to murder him, and then he's like, eventually he caught up. He shot him, but he didn't actually die. And then what he said was he wound up finding this guy, and he asked him a bunch of questions like who hired you to shoot me, who ordered you to shoot me. He had all these questions with him, and then eventually he's like, I shot. And then they were like, when you were done with him, you killed him. He's like, yeah, I shot him a couple times. They were like, did you shoot him in the head? He's like, no, I didn't shoot him in the head. I don't want to leave a mess. I was in somebody else's house. Somebody let me use their house. And they're like, you said you shot him a couple times. They're like, what's a couple? He's like, maybe 10 to 12 times. They're like, maybe 15. He's like, yeah, maybe I shot him 15. But he said a couple, which is kind of funny. And then they said, yeah, he was one of the most like feared people inside of the Lucchese crime family. Nobody ever wanted to cross him because he was very he honestly had, like, if you guys have ever seen Goodfellas and you've seen how Tommy DeSimone, how he like in the movie, Joe Pesci plays him, he's a hothead. That's kind of how Casso was in real life. He was a hothead with a very, very short temper. So people tended to kind of like not cross him, or they kind of stayed away with him, stay away from, like they didn't want to insult him because he had a very, very short fuse, essentially. Eventually, Victor Amuso, he was arrested in 1991. He was sentenced to life in prison, and several of the Lucchese family members actually, fearing for their lives, turned informant. We saw in Goodfellas, Henry Hill goes into witness protection, and essentially, rats out Paul Vario. He rats out. In the movie, his name's Jimmy Conway, but in real life, his name's Jimmy Burke. But a lot of people did that, fearing for their lives, essentially. Had to go into witness protection. The highest profile of the acting boss was actually Alfonso D'Arco. Essentially, he became the first boss of the New York crime family to testify actually against the mob. It led to the arrests of the entire Lucchese crime family's hierarchy, and Casso actually Casso actually became an informant as well. So it's interesting to kind of see, but testimony from these informants essentially destroyed the family. But Amuso continues to rule the family from prison to this day, which is interesting. I kind of want to say like Goodfellas was like one of my once I was like old enough to kind of understand it, was like one of my favorite like mob movies to ever watch. But it's interesting to see how in the movie you don't see everything. They were mainly just associates of the mob. Tommy DeSimone, Paul Cicero, or real life Paul Vario, Jimmy Burke, Henry Hill. They were associates of the mafia. But I'm actually going to kind of talk a little bit about each of them as well as we kind of dive into it. So why don't we start with Henry Hill? Guys, we know Henry Hill. Henry Hill essentially was he was an American mobster, and he was just, like I said, he was an associate of the Lucchese crime family, and the thing about Henry Hill is you see it in the movie, but it's actually real life. He had a drug problem, he had a narcotics problem, and that's why a lot of times he was arrested on narcotics, and became eventually, as you guys know, an FBI informant. He ratted essentially on a few of the Lucchese Crime family members, and he went into witness protection. As you saw, that actually really happened. The story is a little bit different for Henry Hill than you would really think. So Henry Hill, after he actually went into witness protection, Henry Hill still got into a life of drugs and partying. And the FBI actually warned him. They're like, we're not going to be able to keep you here if you keep this up. Henry kind of let his drug addiction kind of take over. And I think maybe a lot of it, if I'm going from like a personal standpoint, I think it was guilt. He ratted on some of his close friends and stuff. He had a drug issue after the fact. And eventually, I believe he wound up going into a mafia-run prison. He got locked up, if I'm not mistaken. It was interesting, but it's a little bit different than like how you see in Goodfellas. At the end of the movie, it just shows him like picking up a newspaper, and I forget what was the saying he said. He's like I ordered I forget what the exact line was at the end of it. It was something like I ordered spaghetti with marinara, and he's like, and I think they gave me egg noodles and ketchup. It's like the end of it. He's like, I get to live the rest of my life like a schmuck. That's kind of where it cuts off at Goodfellas. It doesn't kind of tell you what happens after he goes into witness protection. Eventually, him and Karen Hill, who was his wife, wound up splitting up. But it's a really, really interesting story, actually. So from my knowledge, Hill, what he did was testified against former mafia associates. It actually resulted in over 50 convictions inside of the Lucchese Crime family and just mafia in general. And then Paul Vario was one of them. James Burke. Jimmy Burke was Robert De Niro's character, Jimmy Conway. And they got them on multiple charges. And like I said, he entered the witness protection program, but he was removed from the program. As I said, I think it was the 1990s. He was removed. But it's a lot of this. I'll kind of go in. I'll go back to Henry Hill, but I want to talk a little bit about Jimmy Burke as well, because he was like the from what they say, Jimmy Burke was the organizer of the one of the biggest heists, the Lufthansa heist, as you guys kind of saw in the movie Goodfellas. So Jimmy, he was called Jimmy the Gent, which was his name in the movie as well. Like, Jimmy Conway, but his nickname was Jimmy the Gent. They say that in the movie. They refer to that. But yeah, he in 1978, the Lufthansa heist. It was known that Jimmy kind of organized that. It was considered the largest at the time, the largest cash robbery in American history. He was believed to be responsible for the deaths of those involved months following. As I said in Goodfellas, when you see the movie, you see like how he starts cutting. He kind of starts distancing himself from those who kind of were inside of the heist as well. He wanted to keep himself as far away from those people as possible. What he did was he cut the link between them by killing them. Essentially, he killed like people they say friends, not really friends. In the mob, I guess you're never really friends. It's more just associates. But essentially, he was cutting links. He didn't want anybody to have a chance to rat on him, so he would just kill them. So that just goes to kind of show you how Jimmy was. Jimmy really, really liked to rob people and steal. They also referenced that in the movie as well. He really, really enjoyed just robbing people and stealing from people. But ultimately, the funny thing about Jimmy is Jimmy was actually of Irish descent. So Henry and Jimmy, anybody who knows what a made man is in the mob, you have to be 100% Italian. If you're not 100% Italian, you cannot become a made man. Made man, ultimately, all it is you're protected. You have a certain type of protection inside you by the family, whoever you're associated with. You have a certain type of protection. There's a certain type of code. You can't kill a made man without getting a say so from a higher up. It's the only way you can kill a made man. It's a certain type of protection from the mafia. An immunity, if you will, but made men can still be murdered. Made men can still be killed, but you have to get a say so from a higher up. You can't just kill a made man. And if you saw Goodfellas, you know that too. Yeah, you can't just they killed Billy Batts in the movie. He was a made man. Obviously, you find out what happens to Tommy later. And I'm just going to talk about the movie because I know I'm not spoiling anything. If you haven't watched Goodfellas at this point, it's been out for 32 years. Go watch it. But yeah, no, you can't kill a made man without getting to say so. Jimmy and Henry could never become a made man because they were not 100% Italian. See, Ted was, but Jimmy had Irish descent. And Paul Cicero, or in real life Paul Vario, who we'll talk about shortly, he was a made man in the Lucchese Crime family. He was actually a made man. He was an associate of them, but he was a made man. So ultimately he was just all Jimmy was he was a regulated associate under who we know as Paul Vario, and during the 50s he was involved in tons of illegal activities, as you see in the movie, distributing cigarettes, liquor. You kind of see how they bring it in the front, they move it out the back at a discount. But everything's profit no matter what because you're stealing. So essentially, you're making profit no matter what because you're never paying for that. So you're selling at a profit. It's all profit. Essentially, he became a mentor to Tommy and Henry. Jimmy was older, if you remember, than Tommy and Henry. So when they started to kind of come up, when they were Jimmy was, I'd say maybe like his late 20s or like 30s. Yeah, no, him and Hill were eventually arrested, in Tampa, and they owed a large gambling debt to a friend actually by the name of Casey Brazato. And they were eventually charged with extortion, convicted. There were lots of different crimes that they all got involved in, but I know the big one is, and we can get into it, but you've seen it in the movie, Billy Batts, the murder of Billy Batts. Was obviously a huge one. So Henry eventually actually kind of referred to Billy Batts. The book Henry said that after Billy Batts was released from prison, they actually, if you remember the movie, they threw the welcome home party, right? And it was at Robert's Lounge, and it was owned by Jimmy. Essentially, you've seen it in the movie, and Tommy had jokingly, you remember in the movie, he asked him, go ahead and go home and get your fucking shine box. He asked him if he was still shining shoes, and Tommy felt insulted. He felt that he was trying to bust his balls, and like a lot of people were around. Obviously, if you've seen the movie, but he said, "I'm gonna kill that." So here comes George. Let me bring him in.
Hey, what's up, bro? I'm finally back, man. I'm back. I gotta use my phone. It's just, I don't know, maybe some trouble with the computer. He's finally somehow restarted. Fucking bitch. I hate everything here, man. This computer's taking forever, man. But here we are, man. I'm a little late with it, but unfortunately, I almost didn't even make it. But I have to just do the phone. I never done it on the phone, so it's a little new to me. The phone I usually do on the computer, but here I am, though. So, what you talked about so far? You mentioned some of the mafia movies and some of the history of the mafia, or what?
I've been talking about the Lucchese Crime family. So I've been talking about. I already went over the origin of the family. I'm kind of talking about some of the history of Paul Vario, Jimmy Burke, Henry Hill, and Tommy DeSimone. Kind of how they tie into it. So you know what? I'll let you cover a little bit, man. What's your knowledge of the Lucchese Crime family?
Okay, bro. In the meantime, I'm gonna try to go on the computer, so I'm gonna kind of do it here, and then I'm gonna disconnect this and go on the computer. My knowledge of them is that they're one of the main crime families in the New York City area. They ran the New York City and New Jersey area for years, since the 50s, even before that, like 50s and 60s. They were big, they were big time. They're up there with the Gambino, Bonanno. You have the Gambino, Bonanno, Genovese, Lucchese, and I might be one more family. I can't remember it right now, but they're, again, they're known for having like restaurants and all that. Extortions were known to be happening. A little bit of, the drugs came in later on the picture and all that, but some racketeering, and that's some big time names like Polivario and some, big time names. And some of them are still around today, actually, believe it or not. I actually not saying too much because it's a very specific topic for me, very special. But there's a guy that I know that I'm gonna be friends with, who actually, he knows the Polivario's grandson. Now people might ask, well, Paul Sorvino, the great Paul Sorvino, one of the best actors ever, he played him in Goodfellas, but he was Paulie Cicero. Well, that's actually only a movie. One of the movie changes, so to speak. Some small changes in the movie that they changed the name a little. Tommy DeVito was like Joe Pesci. He's barely fucking 5'4", but he was 6'2" in real life. So some things change. Henry Hill was also shorter than the way they portrayed with Ray Liotta. Ray Liotta, rest in peace, Ray Liotta, of course, great actor. But yeah, I mean, a lot of these movies, bro, are connected or based on certain crime families. And as you probably you already know, but some people might not know here, the movie Goodfellas was displayed by Nicholas Pileggi. I think it was Nicholas Pileggi. I could be wrong. We can check it out. You can Google it. And he wrote the novel Wise Guy, which a friend of mine used to have. I actually want to get the novel. It's a good one to read. And it's actually the movie's based on a book, like almost to a T. But obviously, you know, as you know, books are always more in depth. But you know what I mean? That's a big one right there.
Sure.
But yeah, so like, you know, the mafia in the United States, I mean, he's got a lot of history. I mean, as you already know, it started really because, you know, a lot of the Sicilians brought it over, you know what I mean, and some of the Italian immigrants. But I mean, it was going on before. It wasn't like this in America. It came a little after, but in Europe, it started at the time. It was like basically they're just protecting themselves, you know what I mean, from rival guys, you know, in the neighborhood there, you know, in Sicily, you know, it's more like a means of like the community to help each other against like petty crime and all that. But eventually became so organized and so rich, you know, so you got, you know, you ended up being sort of like illegal and all that. But in reality, I think the term even comes because I forgot the story exactly, but some lady, I think they raped and killed her daughter, and she went and she said mafia, which is my fia means my filia, I mean like my daughter. And then they said it's mafia. I don't know why they use the name because they helped her. I guess they avenged the girl got killed, and then the name stuck to like mafia, and then mafia became like an actual term. So, all right, come on, what the fuck is going on this computer? I have issues again, so I might stay on the phone, but yeah, bro, very interesting, you know, story because speaking of the mafia, some say it was born in Calabria, Italy, but some beg the difference say it was born in Sicily. So it's like right there, you know, all the South Italy is known to have a lot of it, and believe it or not, the Sicilian mafia comes from like La Camorra. Look up La Camorra or the Camorra. Camorra is the Napolitan crime family, and they're mafia. They're very wise, you know, very like large. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you know, Camorra is just like a big generic name. It's like say mafia kind of. Because on the Italian channel, so you hear Camorra. Come on. So yeah, but the mafia came in the States, you know, later on.
Yeah, I was gonna say the Lucchese Crime family is actually still run to this day from prison, actually by Victor Amuso, who was one of the most violent members of the organization. I was actually talking about that. What's your take on Anthony Casso? You know who Anthony Casso is, right? You know, in the Lucchese Crime family, he was actually one of the most. I think he admitted to murdering between 30 and 40 people.
I think I heard of him. I'm not sure who he is.
And the Lucchese Crime family was actually a relatively peaceful crime family for the majority of its existence until Casso kind of
justice.
Until Casso came along. And then if you actually watch his interview on 60 Minutes, I highly recommend it. It's on YouTube. It's only about 10, 11 minutes. Yeah, he's a pretty terrifying dude. Yeah, I was actually telling people he said a story about somebody who was sent to kill him, and he shot him, but he didn't kill him. He was still alive. And he actually tracked this guy down, and he said, who ordered you to shoot me? And he talked to him, and he said, when you were done with him, you killed him. He's like, yeah, I killed him. You know, it's like I took him to a friend's house, somebody I knew. Like, did you shoot him in the head? He's like, no, I didn't shoot him in the head. I didn't want to make a mess. It wasn't my house. And then they said, he's like, I shot him a couple times. They're like, what do you mean by a couple? He's like, like 10 to 12 times. Like, that's a couple. They're like, maybe 15. He's like, yeah, could have been 15. He's just like,
there's a lot of confessions. I mean, you have the confessions of a mafia killer. You had William Villaci or something like that, which Charles Bronson played a movie with him. It came out in 1972, but it's also the same year The Godfather came. And that's another thing. If we're going to talk about mafia history movies, we cannot not mention The Godfather. Arguably the greatest movie ever made and greatest mafia movie ever made. Up there with Goodfellas, of course, and Casino and a couple other big movies. I mean, other ones that come to mind. I mean, of course, The Godfather series, Goodfellas, Casino. The Irishman is a really good one with Jimmy Hoffa and all that. That actually came out more recently. I mean, yeah, you can say Scarface in a way. I mean, what do you call it? Cardios wait a little bit, but with Italian Mafia, there's a couple good ones that came out, bro, and these are some of the good ones. You know what I mean? A Bronx Tale, of course. A Bronx Tale is a good movie because it teaches you a lot about life in general. So.
Yeah. I was like, obviously, you know, the Lucchese Crime family is based off of Martin Scorsese's Goodfellas, you know, from 19. I mean, the movie is based off of the Lucchese Crime family is based off of, you know, Goodfellas. So Goodfellas, vice versa. Yeah. Goodfellas is based off the Lucchese Crime family. But
yeah, I said Goodfellas is just a title, but yeah.
What they don't tell you in the movie is that these guys were actually just all associates of the Lucchese Crime family. The Lucchese Crime family had tons of hierarchy. Like it's Tommy DeSimone, Henry, and Jimmy were all just associates. And I always said Henry and Jimmy could never be made men. Jimmy was of Irish descent; he was an Irishman. And
Jimmy,
then
Jimmy Conway or Jimmy Burke was Irish. Henry was half. Henry Hill was half, so couldn't be made. Only true Italians or full Italians could be made.
Exactly.
Oh,
exactly.
you know what though? Hold on 1 second. I want to say something else too. Also, the movie Mobsters with Christian Slater and Patrick Dempsey, they played in the Prohibition era. Remember, he says at one point, he's like, "I got friends, and that's Sicilian. Then I'm Italian, and I trust them because he had two Jewish friends, which were Meyer Lansky and Bugsy Siegel, aka Beanie Siegel." But that's where Siegel got his name from, really. And Bugsy Siegel opened a casino, but ended up being gunned down. Whereas Meyer Lansky ended up retiring, dying, and he died one of the most peaceful and richest men in America in history ever. Never served a day in jail, and he was a gangster. So that is very interesting, bro. Very good points, bro. But if we stick to the Lucchese Crime family, yeah, you'll see a lot of hierarchy and a lot of things where they could have said somebody that wasn't. I mean, not everybody was Italian. Remember Stax? What's his name? Ed Stax, or I forgot his name in the movie. Remember Stax? Black man. He was one of the first black enforcers. He was a black man.
Yeah, Stax Edwards. Remember
Stax Edwards? Yeah, something Stax Edwards or something like that. And he was, I mean, they don't just portray him well, but that's the thing. The Italians and some of those guys gave way to a lot of ended up helping out the mafia in Philly, like the JBM, the Junior Black Mafia. And we could do a topic on them because that's actually a very interesting one too. If we do more mafia gangster stories, which are actually people like them and they find it fascinating, we'll talk about that too a little bit. But I mean, the mob, the mob is a mob, bro. What can you say? I mean, they control a lot. I mean, a lot of these towns are built. Half of Philly was mob connected, and more recently, and probably still to this day. I mean, we don't know that allegedly, but I gotta say allegedly.
Yeah.
Just disclaimer wise, but I mean, I met real time mobsters, and I met people that connect to them, and I always wonder, the people that play in the movies or are known to be playing some of these guys, they gotta be connected because how can they play it so well? You could be a good actor, but to play the role, you got to kind of live it a little and actually sort of channel it and supposed to become it in a way, just for the set. I mean, you're not supposed to go over, but I mean, these guys that play these movies to a T, I mean, to the death. Robert De Niro plays so many, different roles. Cool Robert De Niro movie you might not know about, bro. He played Al Capone in The Untouchables. He says, and Robert De Niro is Al Capone. He was Al Capone in The Untouchables with Kevin Costner and Sean Connery. R.I.P. Yeah, he was. Sean Connery was John Malone, I think. Was his name Malone, something like that? And
something like that, yeah.
Yeah, Malone. And then Kevin Costner played Elliot Ness, so E. Ness, the real E. Ness, obviously. Not the rapper. For those that might not understand what I'm saying. And then, of course, Andy Garcia played one of the guys there, one of the CIA guys, and FBI trying to go get Al Capone to get him with text evasion. But Al Capone was brilliantly played by Robert De Niro. As you might see, I mean, what hasn't he played? Al Pacino, Robert De Niro played so many good movies, and Chaz Palminteri and Joe Pesci. These four guys have played a plethora of mafia movies. I mean, it's incredible. I used to watch mafia movies, and I used to look at the wish list on Wikipedia, see all the descriptions, all the movies and all that. I used to be in love with them, bro. So many good movies. I mean, Blue Street Ave. That's more of an African-American cast movie, but very good movie nevertheless. The guy that plays G-Money in New Jack City plays the guy in there. Then you have... I mean, even the Boondock Saints, bro. They're not. That's a pretty good movie, right? With the Irish brothers that clean up Boston. The Boondock Saints, it's a pretty good movie,
Yeah, I've seen that movie before. It's a good movie.
Yeah, it's a pretty good movie.
Yeah, man. I know. I was talking a little bit about, who was it? Paul Barrio, how he was kind of associated. I was also talking about how Henry Hill. His life, how it's portrayed at the end of Goodfellas, it doesn't really tell you really what Henry kind of gets into after that. I was like, at the end of the movie, it just shows him picking up the newspaper, and he's like, yes, after I got here, he's like, I ordered spaghetti with marinara. He's like, I got egg noodles and ketchup. He's like, he's like, oh, egg noodles and ketchup.
I can't even get decent food. He said, remember, I can't even get decent food. As soon as I got here, I ordered spaghetti marinara and noodles with marinara sauce, and I got egg noodles and ketchup.
He's like, I got egg noodles and ketchup. He's like, I'm a classic nobody. He's like, yes, I get to live my the rest of my life like a schmuck.
Yeah. My favorite scene said, I get to live the rest of my life like a schmuck. And then he's like, dun 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 dun, and he's like, yeah, and then Joe Pesci shows up with a nice little hat, and remember,
it shows
Tommy he had a bag tied to his gun, right here on the wrist, and they do the killers, and just shooting. And Joe Pesci, man, it's unfortunate. And Henry Hill did pass away years ago, the real Henry Hill. But Ray Liotta passed away recently. It's a shame. I mean, great guy. My boy Eric from Cali, he knew him too. He said he cut his hair once because he's an actor. So he actually brought the I think I told you, Eric and my boy lives in Cali that owns Pancras now. He brought the musical like 30 some years later, close to 40 years later. Wait, 2015. So I guess 37 years or something like that, right? He brought the Warriors. So the movie came out in 1979. He brought it in 2015. Speaking of, I mean, not really a mafia movie, but still a crime movie, about gangs and all that. She's in New York, He brought it back to like the Broadway one. He brought it back to New York City. They did outside. Like, they redid like the scenes and all that with the whole cast. Some of them, most of them could make it, and they're like the subway scene and all that. It's ridiculous. I gotta get it from Eric, and you gotta see it. Possibly you could play it in one of my clips because it'll be kind of dope, and especially if we bring Eric on board one day, which is definitely on a to-do list. But again, bro, some of my folks do connect. I connected to the Lucchese family in Genovese. And actually, all the families. I mean, Gambino, Bonanno. There we go. Gambino, Bonanno, Lucchese, Genovese, and who was the last one? Gambino, Bonanno, Lucchese, Genovese. There's one more. I just can't think of it, but I can't think of the fifth family. There's 5 crime families.
Yeah, you got
and it's funny, the Wu-Tang guys,
obviously,
they use the Gambinos.
Yeah, obviously Gambino and Lucchese are the 2 of the biggest. Yeah, I said the Gambinos and the Lucchese's actually linked up in like, what was it, the 70s?
Yeah,
they actually linked up. Tommy Lucchese linked up with Carlo Gambino in New York in the 70s because they wanted to take over New York, essentially. Man, but oh no, what I was saying was how it doesn't show the end of what happened to Henry Hill. Henry Hill actually got kicked out of witness protection. He had a drug issue, and they actually warned him. That he needed to stop, and he didn't stop. So I said maybe a lot of it was because of guilt for ratting on his friends and stuff when he was in there. But eventually, Karen divorced him. Karen Hill, Henry's wife. And eventually, he got kicked out of witness protection. He actually landed in a mafia-run prison. Which was actually like terrifying for Henry because
but he survived though.
Yeah, he was known as a rat, so ending up in a mafia-run prison.
I mean, when you information away, hey, here's something crazy, bro, and ironic though. So guess who actually knew the real Henry Hill? Actually knew pretty well at that. You're not gonna believe it. Somebody you know pretty well now because he's been on the show before. Bob Carson. Bob.
Really?
He's not a possible to him. Bob knows him. He knows him. He knew he died now, but I mean the real Henry Hill, guys. If you're tuning in now. We're talking about the real Henry Hill, the guy that they portrayed, portrayed in the movie Goodfellas, of course. As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster. Dun 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 dun. Must I forever be a beggar? Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, that was a good promo. You used the music for that. But yeah. So Henry Hill was doing podcasts and even spilling some beans and talking about. I mean, maybe not exactly. Very private issues, the stuff that he snitched in court. What else is it to snitch? And then in 2014, 2015, 2016, he was going to, say some stuff, but he died about 4 years ago, something like that, or either 4 or 5, but he was talking about, some stuff, a little bit of his life in the mafia, because he was doing some podcasts, and I believe he might be connected to one of the guys that I'm cool with now, one of the Albanian guys that does that mafia podcast that I could possibly, be a part of, and you could also, possibly, one day, but we got, John, we gotta bring him here and Granite. It's Albanian guys, 12 guys. They both do podcasts, but one does mafia stuff as well as he'll cover some sports. The other one is only about combat sports like fighting and MMA and shit like that. So both Albanian guys, both New York City based, both got a lot of following. And apparently they know about our podcast. He's putting it right now because of who? Bob, aka John. My boy John. Bob Carson, aka his real name is John, but his stage name is a fighter, pro wrestler name is Bob Carson. But yeah, Bob, he's got quite a connection with them, and possibly next time I go to Florida, I might very well be in the John Eli show. I mean, John Eli, he follows me a little bit on IG. I follow him on Instagram and on Facebook too. You can follow sometimes people on Facebook. He puts a lot of good videos, bro. And to be honest, nothing incriminating, but it's definitely very fascinating stories.
Sure.
Thank you. There we go. Colombo. That's what I couldn't fucking remember. Whoever that is, thank you. You get an A for effort and for actually getting it right.
Genovese, Lucchese, you got Gambino, Bonanno, and then you got Colombo. The 5 New York Mafia crime families. Well, largest. They're the 5 crime families. The 5 new, yeah. I'm gonna have to go on a guess, and I'm assuming that's probably my boy Todd. Man, but isn't it crazy to think like the Lucchese crime family? It's like they were relatively peaceful. until which
Well,
one's take?
I mean, it's fascinating because even in Godfather, bro, it's not that the mafia were always like necessarily bad. They just did what they had to do, but at the end of the day, you know, they were still getting it in and putting in work and giving people jobs, and you know, they made the neighborhood better in a way. I mean, the mafia always kind of like had always a certain hierarchy, a certain way of ruling, if you will, or reign. And also, I wanted to point something out, Steve, as well. If you're still, I mean, you're listening, I can see you right there. Here's the thing. People talk about these days, they don't say boss. We hear the word boss, so they're always a boss. I'm a boss. I'm a boss. Throw money in the air. I call the shots. You take a loss. All these other shows, these rappers want to imitate their lifestyle. But in my time, bro, and before my time, probably like in my father's time, your father's time, and so forth, and in real mafia times, and even more later, even to this day, a boss, you know what that word, bro? A boss is the guy that ran everything and every fucking body. He ran everything. Money was never an issue. They ran more money than any of these rappers could combine, to be honest. They got that large. They're in casinos. I mean, what more do you want? Rappers go to casinos and gamble, which is why they use the kind of, you know, mafioso lifestyle. And let me see if I can find it here, actually. Hang on. Oh, there he goes. Perfect. Speaking of which, we couldn't talk about mafioso rap and rap without mentioning this album. Wu-Tang Clan, Only Built for Cuban Links, which guys a track, Wu Gambino's, it started the revolution with the whole Wu Gambino slang and their connection. The Wu-Tang guys are, of course, connected to the mafia. We all know they're connected to a lot of those guys. They're friends with them. That's what needs to be said. What's known doesn't have to be explained 100 times. That's all it is. They're cool. All the rappers know some of these guys, and that's all it is to it. Now, going back to what I was making the point about the boss. A boss is the guy that provide. You get a certain quota of money, take care of the ladies in the neighborhood, pay for everybody because that's how they did it, and still have a shitload of money left. I mean, you can never really count their pockets. Of course, if you try to do it, you can end up tied up or strangled or pinched or even dead. You know, we know that. Or strong-armed. So a boss is something else. It wasn't this guy says, yeah, he throws money at a stripper. That's not a boss. That's a clown to these guys. To them, these guys, it's a show-off. They don't get like the boss. They were the real bosses. They'll stand big tables, quiet, no kind of, there's no such thing. They're against social media. I'll be honest. One of the Lucchese family, one of the Varios that I'm actually kind of cool with, that I know a little bit, he has a Facebook. Guess what? He never goes on it. He's got very few pictures and he's very private. So, I mean, you know, that's all I got to say. Even John Eli, they know what to post. You got to be very careful how you say things. So you don't want to spread the wrong information and say something that people couldn't really understand out there. You know, you got to kind of keep it, you know, like, saying, cover the zones. But yeah, keep it a little PG there, you know, and censor a little. But I mean, a lot of topics have been discussed. We're not really saying nothing that doesn't need to be said or nothing. We're just explaining a little bit how we came up with some of these movies, the movies we watched, and how they're based on reality, which in fact a lot of them were. Even the Bronx Tale's got a lot of like the stories like based on some people's life stories. It's got to be mashed up a little, combined to make a good movie. And De Niro's debut, so obviously that was a very good movie. I know you love the movie. I love the movie, so you know it's like, hey Sonny, man, Sonny. Hey, C, get over here, C. You hanging out with these losers, man, hoodlums? What you doing here? You got some pitch. What the fuck you doing? He said, stacked them around. Remember? Sonny stacked them all around. Psycho those guys.
Yeah, he's like,
get out of here.
Yeah, he's like, the hell you doing? He smacks him, he slaps him. He's looking at us all pinched.
Yeah. Psycho, another guy, Slick, and all those. There's a bunch. Remember those guys that they had hair grease and all that? They hair like this, like mobsters. Bunch of fucking idiots. Remember?
What did he say? He's like, if you had your choice, what would you rather be? Would you rather be loved or feared? He's like, yes.
He's like, good question.
He's like, good question. He's like, yes. He's like, yes. You know, I love to be both. He's like, but it's very difficult. He's like, if I have my choice, he's like, I want to be feared. He's like people that yeah. He told him to choose between love and fear. He's like, it's a good question.
Yeah, it's like he kind of said that like kind of both, but he prefers fear because love is cool, but people can lose love a lot, respect fear. When they fear, you're not going to really do that. So it's like fear less longer. I choose fear because fear less longer. It's funny, a couple of rappers they actually reference that on tracks as well. So I mean that's another really big. See what I'm saying, bro? So many quotables. It's amazing how many his movies had so many good things. You know, I mean, all the quotes. I mean, it's ridiculous. But
yeah, it's true. He what does he say in the movie? He goes at the beginning, he's like, Dad, everybody loves him just like everybody loves you. He's like, they don't love him, they fear him. He's like, there's a difference. He's like, they don't love him, they fear him. And that's what I think prompts him to ask the question. Yeah, a lot. I love the Bronx Tale because the Bronx Tale has just so many. How do you say it? I actually would say life advice inside the movie. It's actually a really, really good movie. A lot of life lessons, you know, can be learned from that movie.
Yeah, I agree with you, bro.
Speaks out on love. Speaks out on against racism. Remember how Sonny says, you know, what does he say? He say, fuck those kids. He's like, well, half those kids are gonna end up dead or in jail anyway. He's like, all that
They did.
matters
They all
is
ended up dead, which is ironic. Remember they all got killed?
he says at the end of the day, all that matters is when you two are under the covers together. He's like, yeah, that's all that matters. He's like, fuck what anybody else thinks. And then he tells.
Well, Sonny was wise. I mean, Sonny had like good advice for him, you know.
Yeah, of course. And
Sonny was the man. I mean,
yes, sir. So it's like.
So now, Steve, let me ask you a question, bro. I know we got some time. I gotta go soon, and I came a little late, but we got another like 10 minutes. What are some of your favorite mafia movies? Maybe like 5 of them, not in particular order, but some of them, and also some quotes if you can remember, because we're talking about some quotes and lessons. Let's bring some quotes out here a little bit, or some maybe things that made you realize, it's actually a good lesson, like you just said now. And what are some of your favorite mafia movies? If you could just go in no particular order, just a couple, just to give us some insights.
Yeah, I would say, obviously Goodfellas. You got a Bronx Tale. You got Casino. Is another good one. I know you had brought up Casino. It's actually a really, really good movie.
Of course, that's a true story too.
Of course, The Godfather. Of course. And then Mobsters is good too, like you said. Mobsters is actually good, man.
Yeah, surprisingly good movie. I mean, it's one of those movies made in the era. Another one is Needy and Capone and Daz Dillinger. And I believe in one of the Public Enemy's movies, doesn't Johnny Depp play in one of those movies? In one of those Public Enemy, or I think he plays Daz Dillinger, Public Enemy #1. He plays a gangster. Now Johnny Depp also played in Donnie Brasco, which is another very good movie that we didn't really get to touch on too much, and we can cover that. Another good
true
story, but on the cover.
Another good movie. It's more drug related. It's not really mafia related, but it can be, I guess, considered somewhat construed as gang related because of Pablo Escobar and stuff. But Blow is a good movie. But it's not mafia related at all. Yeah. It's just
more Colombian, South American type of cartels and mafias and connected people. Like the whole cocaine syndicate in Colombia. But I mean, it's close enough. I mean, not a big difference. You know what I mean? In some ways, but I know what you're saying though. I feel you. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good movie too. Underrated.
I don't like that face. Put him in the bathroom, Sonny. Somebody said that. Oh, okay.
Oh yeah. I remember. He's like, Frankie Coffee Cake, no good. He's like, I don't want this.
No good, I don't want the face.
I don't want his. Yeah, he's like, I don't want his face looking at that face when he's throwing the dice. He's like, put him in the bathroom.
And he's like, come on, son. I don't put a towel on my head. Cover your face. Come on, Sonny. I don't cover my face.
It's embarrassing.
I don't know. Get him out of here. Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here.
He's like, Sonny. He's not gonna fit. He's like JoJo the Whale's in there. Sonny, he's not gonna fit.
Whale.
Put him in the bathroom.
Put him in the bathroom. Real talk. They put like 6 dudes in the bathroom. That was hilarious.
He's like, JoJo, stop freaking breathing on me.
JoJo, stop breathing on me. You breathe like a vulture. You know what? Put him in the bathroom.
No, that's what he said. Eddie Mush is in there. Yo, he threw Eddie Mush in there too. He's like, what's wrong with my money? Is counterfeit? He's like,
I don't want your money touching the money. Because you know why? Because you're a fucking jinx. That's why.
He's like, he's like, fucking jinx. And he's like, what's wrong with my money? Is it counterfeit? He's like, get him out of here.
He's
like looking at the money.
Come on, son.
At the money. He's like, is it counterfeit?
Get out of the drag him. Oh man.
Yo, Jimmy Whispers grabs him.
I'm trying to think of like some funny. I mean, the movie. Oh, he's like, Louis, you deadbeat fucker, catch your fuck you up.
Oh, Louis dumps.
He's like, Louis, the money. Joey Orso.
Joey Orso. Oh yeah, he says Joey Orso
said that. You got 3 big loves in life. He's like, Joey Orso said that.
He's like, you tell. He's like, you tell.
Said that, see? He's shaving. He's like, well, that Joey Orso said that. You get 3 loves in life. Joey Orso. What does Joey Orso know about love?
He's like, well, you tell Joey Orso. Sometimes the little head be telling you what to do with the big head. Like, I forget exactly what he said, but he's like, he's like,
remember he goes to the face. He's like, Father, my father there is bigger than father down here, or something like that. Like when he said he ran like nothing, Father. He's like,
yeah, no. He's like, son, you can tell me your sins. He's like, no, I can't. He's like, your guy might be big up there, but down here, my guy's bigger than your guy. And he's like, fair enough. And then he goes and gives him his penance. He's like, really? That's not bad for a murder rap, Father. He's like, what'd you just say? He's like, bye, Father. Runs out the.
I don't get the why he says something for a murderer. I don't get it.
He's like say like 10 our fathers, and he's like, really, Father? That's not bad for a murder rat. Like a murder rat. Like he said that he murdered somebody in confession. He's like, what'd you just say? And he runs out the confessional. Bye, Father.
Oh yeah.
Get it? Like,
he said because he was a murderer. Basically, he didn't rat, but I guess Right.
Yeah,
He's like a
yeah.
murderer. He's like, what'd you say? My father, he ran.
He's like, bye, father.
Oh, remember when he's like, they're watching the horses play? No, two funny scenes are with the Jinx guy. One is like in the beginning, like towards the middle of the movie. They're like, get it, Tinkerbell. No. And then she lost because the fucking Jinx bet on the same horse. He bet on her. Fuck, we're fucked. All right, let's go home. That's it. It's over. And then the horse falls. Like, it was the first, what was the name?
Kryptonite.
The horse. Krypton, the horse was on top, and somehow he got followed. So,
come on, he said Eddie Mush was the biggest. He said he was the biggest loser in the whole world. He's like he's also a degenerate gambler. He's like he's like the people at the people at the track would hand him his tickets already ripped up.
Yeah,
remember that they'd hand him his tickets already ripped up. He said he was the biggest loser in the world.
Remember towards the end, he's like, yo, Eddie, have you seen Sonny? No, I don't see Sonny. I'm fucking losing here. I'm getting, beat here. Losing my gamble. And then he's like, where's Sonny? He finally found him before they killed Sonny. Eddie Bush was always a gambler his whole life. He was a degenerate, dirty gambler. Remember, he couldn't win anything. Like, this guy couldn't fucking get a number right. He's like, never fucking had him get a number right in his fucking life. Get out of here.
Such a great movie,
good
man.
Good ones. Yeah, some good, good quotes, bro.
I gotta wrap up. I gotta wrap up in 2 minutes, man. You can stay on because you came on late. It's up to you.
I'll try to stay a little on a few more minutes. I don't know my phone, but
yeah, it would have been nice, like to just like me and you be able to start from the beginning. But I was like, dude, we can do a part 2 on the Lucchese Crime family, but we'll also obviously talk more Mafia families as well. But Lucchese, we could talk more on because I feel like we didn't get like a ton on it. But one thing I'll tell you is, guys, I'm I have to leave at 7:45 because I've been on for an hour, but I have so I actually have to leave at like the 7:45 mark. But I will say
I'll probably go 2 more minutes, but I'm gonna leave myself, bro.
If she reach over and lift up that button, she's a selfish broad and can't be trusted. The door test, a classic. The door test. If she don't reach up and lift up that button, she's a selfish broad, can't be trusted. He's like, well, what about all these things you told me? He's like, she could be one of the great ones. He's like, fuck that kid. The door test. He's like,
you just listen to me, door test. Like, fuck that.
Yeah, he said. Remember, he's like,
The Irish is a good movie.
Yeah, he's like, what? You give him the Mario test? Mario test. He's like, why the hell are you listening to these clowns? Remember, he's like the Mario.
He's a psycho.
Yeah, the Mario test. Remember what he said? He's like, you drive up with a broad. He's like,
you drive next to a driver, truck driver.
Pull up to one of these. He's like, you pull up to one of these like semi trucks, and he's just like, yes. He's like, you lift up her head, and you have her going down on the big. What does he say? The old brojo. And he's like, yes. If this guy comes by, he's like, yes, and honks his horn, and she's still going at it. He's like, she's a selfish broad. She can't be. He's like, what did he say? He's like, he's like, those girls will fail my test in a minute. He's like, I call it the Mario test.
Yeah, like basically get close to a driver, get his attention, let him see you and see the girl, and then if she goes down on you like that right there, it's like,
yeah, he's like, if she still keeps going down on you, knowing that he's watching, she's a selfish broad. You know what he say? He's like, she's
no good. She's no good, selfish broad. Yeah.
She's no good, sneaky broad.
Broad, yeah. It's kind of true, but Mario's is kind of a psychotic, you know what I mean? But he made a point though. It's funny how they all end up dead at the very end too.
Yeah,
crazy.
Yeah, I actually got to bounce, bro. Like right now, but I just want to tell you guys, it's been a pleasure, being on here tonight. We'll definitely cover more of these like Mafia Talks. I know a lot of people have requested, but I just want to tell you guys also a couple things. I know I said the subscribe stuff at the beginning, but guys, the merchandise store has actually been upgraded. We had the live update on Monday, guys. So go check out and see if you see anything cool that you like. We did a lot of different updates on the website, on the merchandise store, and the website is now updated too, guys. You can find our link tree actually below. It brings up. You can actually click the website. We added a bunch of brand new episodes to it. We tweaked the music, tweaked a little bit of the background, added some more images. And we also, we're still playing with it, obviously. It's a never-ending work in progress. But the merchandise store update was live on Monday, guys. So go there and check it out. Don't forget that we are going to have a giveaway coming probably starting next week to end this month, going into 4th of July weekend. So, guys, stay tuned for the giveaway. I'm going to announce more on it next week. But, guys, I have to bounce, unfortunately. But, George, I guess you might stay on. And, yeah. It's been a pleasure being on here with you guys tonight, and guys, have a great weekend. And I'll see you guys all next week for episode 88. George, I guess you're going to continue.
Yeah, I'll continue for like 2 more minutes, but I gotta go too actually. So I'll probably just finish off a little bit, and then it's 56. I'll go to about probably like about an hour or 59 minutes, and then we'll take it from there. But yeah, good stuff, bro. No, before you leave, I also want to give a shout out to Bob Carson and this lady called Angel. There's a podcast we were actually mentioned in the show. They name dropped me primarily, but also our show now. So looking forward to do some business with them, and possibly maybe me and you might be able to go on the show, and maybe even bring Angel here. She's a woman, does some pro wrestling, does some MMA as well. Actually, she competed and does a lot of the media world now. So she's retired, but definitely a tough lady. It's got a lot of cool and got a good show. So shout out to her and salute to her channel, and thank you our boy Bob for mentioning us and all that, and a couple of things, and also.
Yeah, absolutely, thank you. But
next one. Okay, guys.
You guys
so,
take care, man.
I'll continue. You can go, Steve. I'll talk to you later, and I'll at me, all right, man.
All right, man. Take care.
All right,
later.
Good. All right, it's just me now. Steve has left the building. Just G-Mac in here. I came a little late, but I caught the right topic in the right time, So as far as again, Mafia goes and everything else, well, the Mafia got here and they came big because they seen opportunity, but they're also smart, with organizing. So why it became organized crime. So all the movies we watched are being based on it at some point in time. But of course, they tweak things out and change it from movies. That's very common. And it's just one of those things, It's just the movies that come out good. I would say read the novels and know the story, but you can always catch a lot of these documentaries. They're fascinating. I mean, they have a legion of fans. It's almost like cult classics. These mafia type of movies and flicks have been, always been very liked by people. So, yeah, I would say check out some of the newer movies and older movies. Next time, we'll give you guys a list of movies for some of maybe the younger guys here watching. They might not know some of these old classics, although almost everybody knows about A Bronx Tale and such and such. So, or like Mobsters and Casino and Goodfellas, Donnie Brasco. The 80s and 90s are some amazing mafia flicks and just overall mob movies and gangster films. Definitely some good gangster movies. As did the 2000s. I mean, The Part is another one that I don't know if Steve mentioned it, but we didn't get to talk about it too much. But there's a couple good ones. So my suggestion is that take your time watching them and study these movies. It's very important to watch and understand how it really went down and to be up. If you're a fan of these kind of movies, like I am. I mean, I definitely enjoy watching them. Although I haven't watched recently, I haven't watched a lot of them except for Mobsters. That came out recently, and I was like, he came on recently, not came out, came on recently. It's a very old movie, and I was tuning in a little bit, watching a little bit. So, yeah, that's that there. And also, we'll do another part of this, and we'll talk a little bit about how the mafia came to power and the organizations, little, and some major events. Again, they're common knowledge on TV. There's nothing that we're saying that could possibly get us in trouble or get us hit. I mean, it is some serious business we're talking about after all. Oh, yeah. You never know in this situation. So we'll get to that as well. Good film movie, 10th and Wolf. All right. Okay. Yep, somebody's replying. Good feeling, my movie, 10th and Wolf. Okay. I don't know if you can see that one, but it's all good. Yeah, you know what? They got a lot of good Philly mafia movies because The Irishman was even filmed in Philly. As did what's it called? Is it called Concrete Cowboys? I think it's called. That's not a mafia, really a movie, but it's about Philly street art and Philly streets and all that. Very, very interesting. Well, Philadelphia, for those that do not know, was actually and still is basically a mafia town. I mean, he's always been from South Philly to Northeast. I mean, between the Italian, the Russians, the Irish, and some of the Sicilians before, and even the Albanians now, the mafia here has been big for a while. So, and for those that don't know, actually, the Maniac area, totally mobbed up. Come on. Just take a look at it. I mean, look at the buildings. Pay attention to how old they look, the scene there, some of the names. I got a lot of family and folks that, I mean, I got a little Italian in me. So, I got some friends of my dad's friends that live out there and all that. But, I mean, they got money, they got rich folks and all, but they probably know a couple, people that are quote unquote alleged connected or with the mafia then. And I got a friend out there whose father was, and he passed away more recently, but he's not really in it, but, he's connected some kind of way. Definitely a wealthy guy, but, got some friends out there, they're, connected some kind of way. And it's all good. I think this is just business, in Italy and Europe, soccer players are known to party with the gangsters and with the, big time mobsters and underworld leaders and criminals and all that. But the wealthy, rich ones, Just kind of like in the 90s, and even nowadays, the rappers were always hanging out with gangsters and known street guys. I mean, because a lot of them guys in the industry, remember, the entertainment industry was always intertwined with, like, I mean, you had music, you had festivals, you had jazz, you had this, you had, you had the casino, you had showgirls, and the mafia was always in some kind of bit. And the mafia ran most of the business. Let's be big corporations. Oh, big syndicates. A lot of them got to do with crime. I mean, we're not getting too deep, in politics and all, but the mafia is connected with everything. Those that know. I'm not here to give you guys lessons. I'm here to explain a few things before I go on and get the fuck up out of here. I mean, it is an hour and in, but I got here a little late, so I want to make it up to the fans watching, stay a little longer. I mean, it's just, that's just what it is. They're everything. Jersey, mobbed up. What do you think most mobsters live? Jersey. Jersey is definitely one of those states. I love Jersey, but it's really connected. And the guys from North Jersey know about this because they grew up that kind of way. So, yeah. Now, hang on a second, guys. Hang on a second. I got to look at some stuff in here. Let's see. Okay, I just want to read an email. Somebody said, good topic. My boy said, good job, guys. G, you look tired. I am tired. I'm cracked. I barely slept and all, but I had to get some information. And today was a regular show. It wasn't a lot of research, but it was a little research just because my knowledge is still good on this. And all you got to do is watch a documentary, A&E, or one of the show's Gangsters. Oh, yeah. For those who don't know, there's a movie called Mobsters and a movie called Gangsters. And there's also Gangster Squad, which came out more recent, like in 2017 with Emma Stone, I believe. The beautiful Emma Stone. Mobsters came out in 1991 as a classic movie. I was actually watching it recently. I might watch it again one of these nights. It's a good movie. And Gangsters, I remember seeing it like a long time ago. A blockbuster. It was one of those movies. Came out like in 79 or 80, 1979, 1980, one of those years. And it was a very, a very good movie, but just very, old. And it's about like the old code of mafia law. I never really seen it, but I've seen parts of it. There's also a movie called Once Upon a Time in America with Robert De Niro, James Woods, and a bunch of other guys. And that's about Jewish gangsters, kind of like around the time. But I believe it takes place in like the 30s, like 30s, early 40s, maybe. Something like that. Jewish gangsters in America. Jews become in America for years. It's definitely not during World War I, World War II, or before World War II. Nah, before Titanic's time, way before. It was just always migration here. And all the immigrants brought them, they brought their, everything. All their customs, traditions, language, sports, their crime, lifestyle, and, underworld, and again, the Irish, the Italians, the Russians, the Germans, the Jews, the French, the Albanians more recently and later on and all that, the Greeks. I mean, everybody came here. The Spaniards, and the Arabs, the Africans, the North Africans. Everybody brought some kind of cultural part, and there's always a syndicate. I mean, there's so much crime going on, which is why we live in crazy times. And the mafia still around shit. It's just not the same it used to be. Some people might say that, it's over. It's not how it used to be. This and that. It's still pretty deep. Pretty deep. Yeah, I mean, that's just what it is. Yeah, I can't get that. Can't actual comments. I'm doing it with my phone, so it's a little hard. All I can do is read comments and read some super chats on my other screen. I can't because I'm not using my computer. So yeah, for those that wonder, people always ask me if I've ever been connected with them. I've been there. I only been to a spot or once or twice, but I do got connections with them. But I got a friend that really knows them well. I mean, I might go to some kind of mafia spot, play some pool and play some cards, and I'm out. I just don't be there too long, and I just haven't been to one in a while. I just been too busy, Little bars. They might be owned or connected, and they know what it is, but they just don't say too much on them. Just spots. I mean, you got South Philly, you got North. I mean, you got Main Young. You got like parts of like the Germantown area. Philly is a very big city, very connected city. Say that. But the New York wise guys and the Philly wise guys, although they get along, guess what? They don't always get along. No, they don't. I know about it. I got really great connections with them. Secret people to talk about. I got some very good sources, and I'm not here to bullshit or give you guys false informations. I'll be in a very good podcast where they're watching and want to see me. It's called the John Eli Podcast, the John Eli Show. He has a different name for it too, but he also calls it that. I was supposed to be going there in May, but I'm possibly going in the summer because a good friend of mine knows him, and he's Albanian like me. He's one of my countrymen, so that's another story. But he talks about the Albanian mafia a lot, a Thai mafia, and in New York, not just the Albanian mafia, like in overall, but just in New York City particularly. As well as in Europe, in Albania, of course, in the Balkans. For those who know, Albania is in the Balkans, but we're supposed to be the toughest mafia. But sometimes I wonder. You never know. I mean, you have the Serbians and the Romanians and all these other guys, the Armenians, they're pretty vicious too. Credit card theft and stealing and doing the booze again, These are guys that are stealing booze to sell it again, basically. And they're all connected with drugs and, embezzlement, and a whole lot of shit. So you gotta be very careful how you play these games and how you be seen and connected. Everybody wants to be seen with these bad guys and these quote unquote goons of the industry, the mobsters and all that. But can everybody be seen with them? Can anybody really live up to that? Can anybody, kind of like handle it? Some people just can't handle that kind of lifestyle. It's tough. Best bet is stay away. Just try to know about it, but don't get involved in all that because, well, it's a different story. People always use these words, about their life, keep the energy, this and that. You gotta have a certain type of energy. You gotta be about their life. Are you about their life? Are you really about their life? That's what it really comes down to. All these other bullshit, all these young guys talking about this and they have no fucking idea what the fuck they're talking about. They don't even know about the Wu-Tang Clan. These kids don't know nothing about the Wu-Tang Clan these days, let alone other shit. Let's be clear on this. And speaking of which, as you can see on my shirt here, the Wu-Tang Clan shirt that I have, one of the many, says establish Staten Island. Well, who do you think ran Staten Island? Ding, 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 ding. Applaud button. We don't have the applause button now, but we'll get to it at some point. Maybe next time. But Staten Island was definitely, ran by the mafia. The New York mafia is known to be there, which is why the Wu-Tang guys are very connected. We're good friends with them. Without getting to a lot of, details and all that. So much has happened with Wu-Tang over the years. I remember a producer, one of their guys got caught up, arrested for felony, some kind of embezzlement, some kind of fraud, something like that. 2 Wu-Tang brothers were gunned down last year in August, connected to the jizz of the Wu-Tang and a couple of the guys in Brooklyn. So, oh yeah, that's right, 12 o'clock. That's what his name was, 12 o'clock, and I can't remember the other guy. Nasser Baz. I can't remember. The killer bee, the Wu, they call them the Wu Killer Bees or the Wu-Tang Clan Killer Bees, which is that they're affiliates, an army of dudes. Son of Sam, Killer Army, Shabazz the Cyborg, Shaheem Franklin, and so many. So many. It's a lot of those guys. That's why Wu-Tang's not just 9 guys, it's like 1,000 guys. And again, they're all connected to the mafia. Italian mafia, American mafia, black mafia, white mobsters. They're connected, they're businessmen. RZA is connected to the Shaolin Temple in China. He goes there regularly, he visits them. It's the Wu-Tang Clan is embedded in life and made it like stamped in modern society, humanity. They're connected with the whole kung fu movie flick, that, and the Shaolin Temple martial arts with hip hop and raps from street stuff, as well as the mafia and all that. They're so versed, which they're cultural icon, these guys, the Wu-Tang, and again, connected to a lot of these guys. The whole album, which I actually have in the car right now, which is this album right here, that I'll show you guys again. For those that are old enough, this is called the Purple Tape. But some guys don't know about this. That's because they were born a little after. This came out August 1995. See? Raekwon the Chef and Ghostface Killer. Raekwon and Ghostface. So, yeah, good album. And he has a track, Gambinos. But this album is monumental because this album was really one of the pinnacles of not only gangster rap and hip hop, but basically mafioso rap, mafioso hip hop, the whole lavish lifestyle of bosses and gangsters, but in different perspective with the streets of New York, with the different crews, and obviously those guys were Italian, these guys are black, but a little bit of a connection between the two, if you will. Gambinos. And they knew the guys. obviously they wouldn't just create a song and make a song like that. It wasn't like, I don't know what there's a story behind it. I forgot because I heard in an interview how they talked to the guy got permission, but they're cool with it anyway, so everything was fine. It wasn't like, well, don't say the name on a song, on a track, yada, yada, yada. That never happened. There was always an understanding there. Again, the Italian guys in New York, they are cool with the Wu-Tang guys and their OGs, and the Jewish guys in Staten Island. It's a whole connection there. They even have an Italian rapper out there somewhere. Yeah, that's right. He's an Italian rapper. You got to watch a couple producers. They're friends with Wu-Tang, of course, but they're Italian guys, white boys and all, or Italian and something like that, Irish or whatever, American. But because there's a documentary, it's called The Saga, Wu-Tang Saga Continues. It came out 2010. Yeah. It's from like 98 or something like that, but it was remastered in 2010. And this is way before of Mike's and Men, and before the saga, the one that, the Wu-Tang Saga, the show that's popular, it's been popular in the last year and a half. This is before that. And it was actually a very good show. I actually have the soundtrack and the actual thing. I have the actual album. And on that one, actually has actual footage of them recording in the studio, like Cream and some of these classic songs. So it's very, very interesting for those that really want to know behind the story. For me, I'm wearing a Wu-Tang shirt, and we're talking about the Mafia a little and Wu-Tang and all this, but I watched most of the series. I didn't watch the whole thing, but I know the story anyway, but it's good to watch it as done through the eyes of an actor. You know what I mean? Like acted out and all that, like an actual TV show, how they got BMF and all. Junior Black Mafia. Or Black Mafia Family, I'm sorry. BMF, Black Mafia Family. Black Mafia Family from Detroit. So yeah, Detroit's where he's at. So that show's going to be a good one. Now, a really good Mafia show, though, that I got to say to you guys before I actually get out of here and I log out and all, is Boardwalk Empire. Very good show. How they kind of ran AC and the intricate things. Very good detail, very good shows. I miss those kind of shows, and I can enjoy a good old mafia show like that. But it gotta be consistent, and it's gotta be very accurate, and not something like it doesn't really happen in real life. Of course, The Sopranos, one of the best of all time. Amazing show. Some parts weren't too realistic, but those guys again all know the real deal guys, all connected. Some of the guys actually were real. Hey, question, real mobsters, or them are close enough to being real mobsters, but also actors. Go figure. A lot of big time names in there. Rest in peace, Jessica Gandolfini. A recent actor from the cast, an alumni from Sopranos past. I can't think of who, but somebody said it. I think my man Matthew J. Granham talked about it, I believe. So what's up, Matt Granham? Big shout out to Matt. And thanks again for having the podcast in Florida. Me and Matt did a podcast together in Florida. It was a good one. 35-minute podcast. Bob did his first, I did one. And in one of those, actually, we did talk about the connection between the Mafia and the UFC. But that's another story. We ain't going to mention it too much. I don't want to particularly go that direction, but we can talk about it another time. But let's just say that some people make it out, make big things, and actually change their ways and want to actually become powerful and actually want to help. And they actually, they basically make it work. I mean, buy business, their properties, wash their money well, and it takes time, but consistency. So the whole myth that if you're in their life, you usually 99% of the time you go to jail or die, it's true, but no, there's some good examples that didn't work that way. You work people's favors. Very few. And again, I wouldn't, encourage anybody or suggest, do this, become a bad guy, go get in the mafia, become a criminal or an outlaw. That's not what it's about. But I'm just saying that some people actually somehow made it work because they're born in kind of life or just got involved young. To each their own. I don't know the story too much, or I do, but don't really want to get into it like that. But some of these guys and the fathers are enforcers for some families, like Lucky Luciano's guys and all that, or bigger families, and they're controlling shit from New Orleans to New York to Detroit, Chicago, all through the East, all to the West. They controlled everything. I mean, from gambling to legal gambling to drugs and all that. And some of them were able to get out and make big bucks. And I ain't gonna mention names, but they know who they are, and that's how we ended up getting to where we are now. And now it's like some of these companies, they invested in the whole prize fighting world, in the world of fighting and boxing, martial arts, and casinos and reservations. For a long time, the UFC couldn't not only be bought, it was already bought by the SEG group, which eventually Bob Markowitz, I think, or is it Dave or Bob Markowitz? I think it might be Dave Markowitz. Bob Carson knows what I'm talking about. Bob could probably correct me on this. If you're watching, Bob, let me know. But yeah, they sold the UFC eventually, and that's when the Fertitas came in. But there was connections. I mean, the old guy Pedretti. Like there's all these guys, that were basically connected, and well, one thing leads to the next. Then when you have a big friend that can do something, they get involved because the UFC can only have shows in the casino, in the small casinos in Indian reservations or Native American reservations and land. Eventually, they're bought out. It's like going to see, and that's when even with Donald Trump, our former president. Oh yeah, the good almighty Donald Trump, Donald fucking Trump. Wow, what do you know? He was one of the first to give the UFC, Dana White's guys, and the Fertitas a piece of his land there to find a casino at the Taj Mahal. A couple of early UFC events were there, and they have not been good. You had Tito Ortiz in the card and all that, but so much underneath it we don't know about that. We can't even get into it too much, but it's there. And well, some people have spoken. He's been spoken in podcasts before. It's not the first or last time, and he'll be spoken again. And when I do the show with John Elites, we'll definitely talk about it and cover it. Of course, probably people don't want me to do the show, but we'll proceed and do it. It'll be, one of those things. We'll get it eventually. We'll get it done eventually. So, So yeah, so if you guys have any questions, keep it on the comments, you know what I mean? DM us. We could talk about this I could talk about this kind of topic for a long time, but we're gonna wrap it up soon, and we'll mention it another time. We'll probably do a part 2 and possibly have a guest. Maybe bring guys a real deal, a real person, a real mobster. Ooh. You never know, right? We got those kind of connections here. It depends if people want to show up and how much they want to talk. We wouldn't expect people to talk about nothing, only public information. We don't do that. This ain't Let TV. This ain't that fucking bullshit. This is something different. We don't want to create nobody. We don't even I don't ask those kind of questions. I just rather know small things that no one gets in trouble for, because I'm very careful with this kind of stuff. We gotta be careful how you move in this modern day and world. So, but we'll talk about it again. We'll cover it. Some of our movies, and again, all these movies are classics, but a lot of them are true stories too, though. So just don't forget about that, guys. A lot of these movies are very piece of a precious movie history, but there's the movies that define the genre, define a time, a time, zone, a whole generation even. I mean, you have The Godfather in the 70s, even in the 80s later, 70s and 70s, 90s, 1990, and then 92 came the fourth one, which was a mashup. Still a good movie though. So yeah, it's it's a good topic. I mean, we'll explore it more. And some people here had some very good quotes, which I can't show all of them, but at some point I will. I also don't have time to read some of the emails, but we'll do it next time. I promise I'll read some of the new ones, and we'll make it work out somehow. We get some people on the line here as well. Again, sucks I came a little late, but I was able to deliver some good content, and we're able to really cover the topic. So happy for that. And yeah, if you guys enjoyed it, leave a comment, subscribe, a thumbs up. There's, I mean, definitely a lot of story and a lot of backstory going on to this. It's just like you wouldn't believe. But again, I don't have time to talk about everything. But let's just say that even to this day, a lot of these guys are moving New York to Philly. And again, I'm not mentioning no names, not mentioning the crew, just certain guys. And even where I live, there's a lot of activity going on that you might, if you know, you know. If you don't know, then just don't know. And if you live under a rock, or you keep living under a rock. So there's spots. All yes, there is. For those that are wondering, I go to all the spots, whether I got a gun on me or not. I'm always there, just in case. I'm just always there. And it's not some beef or star shit. I mean, I'm always welcome there. I'm always cool with somebody there. And if I got a problem with somebody there and I'm enough to go there, I'll go there. But I'm not about to start trouble. I'm all about, making some business. Maybe if I know those guys, it's all good. I don't go down their route. That's what they do. I do my own thing, Just good to know a few people, I mean, I got connections. I don't shy away from saying that, and I'm not scared of saying it. The only care who's listening, because I ain't seen nothing, crazy about this stuff, I mean, a lot of times the cops, they know who you're cool with and all that, but nothing doesn't mean you're cool. It's about what you get caught doing, and some of these guys are, at this point, are legit too, so don't forget. I mean, they might have been at some point in Mafia, but not as much anymore. Times have changed. People have gotten old, but it's still got the mentality and the business brain, and they're running, but it's like generational. So, I mean, not like they're kids and grandkids and all that. Oh, yeah, one more thing. So, speaking of Mafia topic, so John Gotti Jr. here, he's a good fighter. He's a boxer and mixed martial artist, and I believe a striker. Might be fighting my boy. He got called out by not Meg Rand, what's his name? Bob Carson. And we have to set the fight up. He fights. He knows a buddy of mine by the name of Al Pringle, who fights in New York, who doesn't have a great record, but does fight a little bit. These Albanian and Italian mobsters, like Albanian Italian, Italian American, Albanian American, and guys, American guys there. Some of them got friends or family or folks or cousins that fighting now because they're younger than in the fight world. So it gets interesting. Like, who can actually fight John Gotti Jr. III? From what I know, he's pretty good. I never really seen him. I've seen a couple of footage of him training a little, some sparring, I see some fights. He kind of comes and goes, but Bob called him out. And John Gotti Jr., if he did see it, I mean, you got called out. I mean, it is what it is. It's just a fight. I was right there. For my fight, the tape my match. After me was Bob, and I was doing a little taping of his, and they were, of course, filming because all of them got filmed. The Les Pankers fighting Cali. He walked, to the walk, and he said, after the fight, he's like, John Gotti Jr., I'm fucking coming for you. I want that fight. And that's what Bob said. I mean, I was there. I filmed it. I thought it was hilarious, but it's a good call out. It's all fun and games until it's not more fun and games, but it's a fight. You just, somebody's gonna get that jaw broken or punch, kick, whatever. It's just a fight. There's no hatred. I don't think. Gives me for Bob. I don't know that Bob has any, thing going on. They just a small call out and it's just a fight, That's all it is. So, yeah. So, yeah, I think it's about it, guys. I could probably call it a night. It's a whole lot going on. So, yeah. But anyway, if you enjoyed this episode, again, just leave a comment, a like. Let us know some feedback. A lot of guys that are watching do follow our pages on YouTube. So, I mean, you guys, anybody that doesn't even follow us in a way, just on YouTube can see this and comments. Let us know what you think. We got more blogs coming up, more content. Next week will be a better show. We might come back with the Mafia show, but episode maybe 94, 95 even, or towards the end of the 90s. Because, I mean, this is 87. It's almost a wrap. So we're reaching 88, which is my number. And it's going to be a good show, of course. And we'll go from there. So, anyway, guys, I'm about to wrap it up. Hope you guys had a good time. I know I had a good time. It was cool to hang out a little after and do a little bit of my own segment of the show. This has been a presentation of the Locked In Podcast, the Stephen G Show. We're happy to be here. We're happy to bring guys a good episode. Something a little different. I mean, about movies, but also about reality, about the whole Mafia world, which a lot of people don't touch this topic, or unless you're on those blogs that mainly about Mafia or about street blogs, like a lot of hip-hop stuff and street legends. I do want to actually talk about a lot of the Queens street legends and the crime in the streets, guys from the streets of New York, the whole connection to the hip hop world, the graffiti, just kind of like the street, the culture as we know it. I want to do one on that, and I got to talk to Steve because we may do some research, but I'm good at this kind of stuff. I know both about the Mafia type of realm world as well as the black mob in New York and the Queens legends and the ones that kept away from starving, like drugs and drug dealers and all that. Now said it. The ghetto celebrities said the drugs kept the hoods from starving. Ghetto celebrities, Nicky Barnes and Pap was the 70s, but it's a long list of ghetto celebrities. He said in the song Get Down. So I mean, around then it was just a lot of it's a lot of influence of the music of these Queens guys, from these legends, there were street legends like the Poppy Masons, Fat Cat, Nichols, Kenneth McGriff, aka Supreme, Kenneth Supreme McGriff. Anybody know about that? A 5%ers. A 5%er friend of mine knows some of these guys. King Tut and Haitian Jack who got deported. King Tut and Haitian Jack were connected to the Tupac shooting. They're goons in New York that shot off of Tupac because they're connected to Jimmy Henchman, who's the one to set up the hit on Tupac. For those that don't know, public knowledge, everything's changed. I mean, of course, probably dead for years. These guys, statute of limitations can't grab some of these guys. The actual shooter of the 1994 studio shooting of Tupac, when he saw Biggie and he kind of blamed them for not telling him, so that quad studio shooting. The actual guy is a guy by the name of Isaac Dexter. Is it Isaac Dexter? Or Dexter Isaac? Dexter Isaac, maybe. Maybe Dexter. I could be saying it wrong. I apologize if I do. So, yeah, he's still in jail, but because of the statute of limitations, he's serving a previous crime. So, for the thing with Tupac, they robbed him and mugged him and actually shot Tupac in the head, in the leg, when he shot himself in the balls or whatever, or so the story goes. That guy is actually in custody, but I don't know if he's still alive or dead. That's what I don't know. But we do know that Jimmy Henchman's in jail for life, and apparently read it, but he might come out, so... Bad moves for 50 cents. 50, you gotta get your job, my man. 50's my guy, but 50 don't like Jimmy Henchman. Some beats it because of the Supreme situation. So there's a lot of drama. And that's actually an episode I want to bring to you guys one day. It'll be dope. Because I always want to talk about that. I never really got to do my own blog or get on here and do an episode. But yeah, that'll be a good one. So anyway, guys, hopefully you guys had a good one. I know I did. I had a good fun time doing this episode. Until the next one, hope you guys have a great rest of your night and had a great night so far and a great day. Hope you enjoyed the show. Tried the best to bring guys some of really good content and something really about the Mafia. Again, if you got some questions, reach out to us and definitely subscribe and leave a comment, hit the notification button, the bell, and we subscribe to our stuff. And we can definitely bring guys some exclusive content. You can also reach out to us and bring it to you quicker. We're like different other bloggers. We're just kind of like we start getting bigger and bigger. We've been around for a while now, for maybe a year and a half, but we will actually respond, and we're not like hard to reach with, difficult, even if we get bigger. But I mean, the bigger you get, the more you're gonna have hard time, sometimes reaching people. But you can always like and reply, like some cool bloggers out there. So we're those guys, we try our best. And as I say often, my man Arash says, be the best and fuck the rest. We gotta keep going, man. It's 2022. Gotta keep it real, keep it true, be you, and do what you gotta do, handle your business. No time to waste, make money regulate, and do what you gotta do and handle your business, kid. Have a good weekend, guys. Have a great rest of the night. We'll be in touch, and keep watching. Show never end, and relax. Peace.